this is Evie. She is our only normal ball python. Wild type, you know, she doesn't have any visual morphs on her, but she's also the most expensive ball python we've ever purchased. She is a year old, 350 gram, 100% het sunset female.
I was watching videos on YouTube and I came across a video from Brian Kusko where he had paired two het sunsets together. It was a cinnamon sunset and an inchy sunset, or het sunsets for each, and was able to produce a bunch of visuals, and the visuals looked amazing. And honestly, his video quality is amazing. If you haven't seen the video, I don't know if I can actually link for it, but you could look it up. Brian Kusko sunset clips, or sunset video is, I'm sure you'll find it on YouTube. Anyways, so it kind of gave us the idea, or gave me the idea, of jumping into a high-end project, kind of like what JD Constrictors had done with the Axanthic, like however many years ago, and using that as the base for a lot of the high-end stuff that we as Leviathan snakes would end up doing.
So we had kind of agreed not to purchase any more snakes because we had everything that we wanted to produce in our next 3 years. And at that point, buying more snakes was just spending more money, and we didn't have anything really new that we were adding to our collection. It was just more clowns, more Axanthics, you know, more bananas. And Steven Steven asked me while I was doing my makeup. He said, how much would you spend if we were to get into a project that isn't necessarily accessible to everyone at the moment? And at first I was like, no, you know, we're not far enough into breeding to handle.
No more snakes.
Yeah, and no more snakes. We're not far enough into it. We've never sold a hatchling. We've never produced a hatchling. It'd be kind of weird to jump into like one of these high-end projects. But he started talking about the sunset, and I thought about it, and it was something that we could invest in that I believe would have a payoff. Not only a monetary payoff, I believe it would be really cool to make some of these combinations that haven't been made before.
One of the possibilities that we were looking at was Monsoon, and really the thing that stopped us from Monsoon was, while it's a gorgeous morph and it's just visually dominant, visually stunning, the only things that were available on Morph Market when we were looking for it were hets, and we were planning on getting hets. We wanted to get a het female of whatever it was if we were doing a recessive project. And then a year-ish before she was ready to go, we would get a het male or a visual male depending on the prices. And with Monsoon, the hets were like $2,000–$3,000 plus, and that was something that we could technically afford, but we didn't want to spend that much money because it was just a little bit outside of the price range that we were comfortable jumping into this kind of project. So the fact that they were a little bit expensive, we could only get hets, and there weren't very many visuals that has ever been produced, so we didn't know how it would look in various combos. We decided not to go with Monsoon. Another one we looked at was Puzzle, a little bit cheaper, but it wasn't as visually stunning in my opinion. Not saying that puzzles aren't gorgeous, but wasn't as visually stunning as Monsoon or as Sunset, and because of that, we didn't feel that it could serve as a base for all of the future projects, or a very large portion of future projects, because it seemed like a morph that you would combine with others to kind of bring out different aspects or different combos rather than serving as the basis like an Axanthic combo is, or a Clown combo, a Pied combo, or what we end up hoping are Sunset combos. Now that we knew we were going to be in the Sunset project, we went back to Morph Market looking specifically for 100% het Sunset females. And there were a lot of different options. There were a lot of 100% het sunset females that had a couple other genes, so that way it would let us get a jump start on combos, but they were a little bit more expensive. In addition, a lot of the het sunset females that had fire or inchy or cinnamon in them were hatchlings, and we did happen to find one that was a 100% het sunset female that was a year old. She was about 350 grams that she was being listed on, and the story around her is that the guy had bought her from Brock Wagner in January of 2020. She hatched in December of 2019 and had planned to be getting into the Sunset Project, but things came up in his life. He was in med school where he needed to pretty much unload almost all of his snakes. And by doing a lot of research, by looking at the different things that he had, by looking at what Brock Wagner has sold, we actually found the listing for her from Brock Wagner, and everything kind of matched up. So even though it is possible that she could not be sunset, just in case if somebody had decided to lie to us, we wouldn't necessarily know that until we're able to breed her and prove her out. But she was listed as 100% het sunset, and everything else didn't raise any flags in terms of like sketchiness, so we ended up buying her anyway. Because we bought a het sunset, 100% het sunset from somebody that wasn't one of the major people in the Sunset Project, it kind of shifted how we wanted to go with the male. And while we still could have gone for a 100% het sunset male from one of the major sunset breeders like Brad Boa or Brock Wagner, we were afraid that had she not been, or if she is not 100% het sunset, and we just had a clutch with no sunsets, no visuals because we couldn't produce one, we wouldn't really be able to know. So it kind of shifted the way that we were thinking, and instead of going with a het male, we decided that we wanted to try to go with a visual male. And the idea is, if the het sunset female that we got is 100% het sunset, and let's say next year she's ready to go, that we might be able to produce visual sunsets way earlier than if we had gotten a hatchling 100% het sunset female, as well as any offspring that she has will be 100% het sunset because they'd be paired with a visual sunset. All of this together kind of solidified our direction with the project, so when we started looking for sunset males, like visual sunset males, there were only 4 visual sunsets listed on Morph Market at the time. There were 2 just regular sunset females that were hatchlings, and there were 2 males, but the males had a lot of other genes added on and it put them outside of our price range. So while we're doing all this research, I reach out to Brock Wagner, pretty much asking if he had any that were coming out that maybe weren't listed on Morph Market at that point in time. And he told me that he did, that he actually just had a clutch of sunsets, and he had a male sunset that he was down to sell us, but the male hadn't eaten yet. So it was literally just hatched. This was back in October. So we buy the sunset male from Brock Wagner, and he gets a couple meals in him, and then he sends them here. And when we got him, he was just gorgeous. It was the first time Courtney and I had seen a sunset, a visual sunset in person, and it's stunning. He is just has amazing colors, and it kind of shifted the way that we wanted to look at all of our future projects, not just simply what we wanted to do for the Sunset Project. And now that we have him, we are planning on next year pairing him, no matter what, as long as everybody's good to go, with our Firefly Calico female, who was sold to us as a Firefly Calico, but we're not 100% sure that she's Firefly. We're wondering if she's just a pastel Calico, but we'll see. We'll see what happens when we pair them. But pairing our Sunset male with her, as well as once Evie, our 100% het Sunset female, is ready to go, pairing him with her, and then kind of working it that way. And really what we have to do right now is just kind of wait, grow them up, have fun, deal with our breeding season as it is. But regardless of what ends up happening with Evie, which, like I said, we do believe that she is 100% het sunset as she was sold to us as, but if she's not, because we have a visual sunset male that we got from Brock Wagner, we still have the way to move forward in the project. So no matter what will be there, eventually we'll be producing sunsets, but it may be really, really soon, as in like a year or two, or it might take longer once we're able to grow up some females. So thank you guys for watching. We really, really appreciate it. If you haven't done so, we would really, really, really appreciate if you followed the channel. So we haven't done a whole lot with YouTube yet. We're gonna try to rectify that. If you are following us on Instagram, fantastic. It is Leviathan_snakes. And if you're on YouTube watching this video, just hit that like button, hit the subscribe. Thanks. Thank you again.